Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with John Chapman, a former US Marine suffering from PTSD, drinking to his fallen allies, and playing Russian roulette with a revolver. He attempts to end himself, but can't because luckily, a bullet isn't in the firing slot. Next, White's John Chapman is at a convenience store buying some liquor when two armed robbers burst into the store. One of the robbers has a shotgun and points it at Chapman, but the ex-soldier seems unfazed. He puts the robber's shotgun to his head, and asks to be shot, but the robber calls Chapman crazy. The Marine then proceeds to beat up both robbers, and give the store owner his stolen change back. We then see Chapman at home, struggling heavily with his PTSD, hyperventilating, and going through rigorous exercises, in order to distract and focus himself. In the middle of the night, as he is sleeping, he hears a knock at the door, and finds that it is his sister Cindy. The two have dinner together the next day, and Cindy finds out that John hasn't been taking his prescribed medication for his PTSD. John tells her that he is fine, and hates taking the medicine anyway. Conversely, he asks Cindy if she's okay. She tells him that she is, but her body language seems to suggest otherwise. The next day, Cindy flies back to Brazil, and we cut to a scene with two police officers, one of whom is called Catarina. They are led to a beach by one of the kids in the favelas, where they find Cindy's beaten and bleeding body. Luckily, she is still alive, and Catarina calls for an ambulance. Chapman receives word from Manny Ridley, a fellow veteran and diplomat, that his sister has been severely beaten. Chapman immediately leaves for Brazil. In the next scene, we see Catarina distributing sodas to people in the favela, when shots are fired. She and her partner rush to the scene to find that Detectives Santo and Baroro have already apprehended the suspects. The people in the favelas quickly turn the tables on the policemen, however, training their guns on them in a flash. Santo asks for them to pit their best fighter against the police's best fighter then and there in a wager. If the police lose, they leave and free everyone they arrested. If they win, they will leave and continue to come back until Cindy's attacker is found. The result is a showdown between Detective Carlos Baroro and the best fighter from the favela. Baroro makes light work of the fighter, and Santo assures the people there that they will return. John then meets up with Manny and Santo, with the detective allowing the ex-Marine to investigate the crime scene with Officer Catarina. Later, when John goes to visit his sister in the hospital, he finds an Asian nurse injecting Cindy's IV with something. John suspects nothing of this until his sister starts having convulsions, upon which the doctors attempt to stabilize her and tell Chapman that there are no Asian nurses on their payroll and that this was an attempt to kill Cindy. John is then seen at the spot where his sister's body was found, and he tries to investigate a young man hanging around the scene, wearing his sister's necklace. After some fighting with the locals, it is revealed to John that the young man, Kuka, is one of the people that Cindy helped during her work in the favelas, and that the necklace was also a gift from her. Kuka then proceeds to give Chapman Cindy's journal, in which some pages have been torn out suspiciously. Chapman then uses some sandpaper to reveal a secret hidden in it. He calls the number written and arranges a meeting with the man on the other side of the phone, Bruno. Bruno tells John that Cindy had been investigating the prostitute disappearances in the favelas, using her connections. She had arranged for a meeting with someone that could blow the whole thing wide open, and had asked for Bruno to take pictures of the meeting, having worked with the photographer in the past. Bruno said he gave the original pictures to Cindy, and will keep the copies as insurance for himself, but Chapman is able to swipe them off him. As Bruno goes to sit in the car, it explodes, triggering Chapman's PTSD. Near the crime scene, he sees an Asian woman that looks exactly like that nurse. She escapes in a car after John gives chase, after which he is attacked by unknown armed assailants. John is able to hold his own, and eventually, the drive-by shooters have to make their escape. Meanwhile, Chapman and Manny Ridley investigate the photos that John managed to secure. The two come to the realization that the Yakuza could be involved. He goes to the nightclub and manages to confront the man, DJ Lima. The man tells Chapman that he is a smuggler, and that Cindy was able to catch him in the act of making a deal, and confronted him about it. Unfortunately for her, Lima's client was also watching, and likely was behind the attack on Cindy. Lima then tells Chapman where he can find the client, so Chapman heads off with Manny. Santo, meanwhile, starts a violent raid on the favelas, in an attempt to kill all wanted criminals. His hit squad is seen causing carnage in the favelas, killing several people without remorse. Chapman makes it to the extravagant villa that Lima pointed him towards, and there he finds an exorbitant display of wealth and women, and sees several people who seem to be high-ranking and very influential. The Asian woman is also here, and one of the guards leads Chapman to a balcony in the back. As Chapman looks over the balcony, he sees a black van pull up, transporting young girls to the mansion. One of the girls is recognized by Chapman as Kuka's sister Maria. Chapman is then attacked by the guard, but the Marine is able to dispatch his attacker easily. Back at the favelas, one policeman finds a Japanese man loading into a black van, and orders him to freeze, whilst requesting backup from the rest. Santo and Baroro make their way onto the scene, where the policeman informs them of the situation. Santo is about to shoot the criminal, when he suddenly points the gun at the young policeman, and shoots him in the head. Santo and Baroro are then revealed to be working with the Japanese woman that tried to assassinate Cindy, and in a shocking twist, we find out that Santo ordered this raid not to kill criminals, but to kill those that Cindy could have talked to, about their pedo ring trade. The Yakuza had hired Santo's services to clean up loose ends, and the Japanese woman tells Santo that his payment will be waiting at the docks. The guards at the mansion continue to hunt Chapman, after he finds where they have been keeping the abducted. Meanwhile, the big bad boss Hiramoto orders the Yakuza woman to go finish the job at the hospital and kill Cindy. In the meantime, he interrogates Lima and kills him with a sword. Hiramoto then tells Santo and Baroro that Chapman is causing trouble at his place, so the detectives tell him they'll take care of it. Next, Chapman is cornered by the brothel's guards, but takes care of them. Santo and Baroro then arrive on the scene and Chapman explains what is going on. It seems like Santo is going to kill Chapman, but Katerina and her partner also arrive, handicapping the double-crossing detective. Chapman then shows them where the kids were being kept, but to his surprise, finds the entire room empty. Santo then asks Chapman to hand over the sensitive shipping manifest that he was carrying, to which Chapman obliges, because at this point he doesn't know about Santo's involvement with the Yakuza. As Chapman goes to leave for his hotel, he realizes that foul play is afoot with Santo, and goes to follow the detective to the docks. The Yakuza assassin meanwhile is almost about to kill a comatose Cindy, before she is fatally shot by Officer Katerina. Chapman makes it to the docks, where he finds a contingent of mercenaries, Santo, Baroro and Hiramoto preparing for shipping to Japan. He calls Manny Ridley to tell him of the situation and asks for backup, but advises the police not to use the radio, because Santo is a double agent. Chapman then goes into the warehouse, and proceeds to kick ass, eliminating several goons on his own, in an incredible display of fighting prowess. Santo and Baroro then attack him. He is able to pin Santo under some crates, but then has to engage in one-on-one combat, with a highly dangerous Baroro. What follows is an incredible fight scene, with a flurry of exchanges between the detective and ex-Marine. Baroro displays incredible athleticism, but Chapman is able to overpower him. Santo then breaks free and attacks Chapman, but the soldier is able to beat him very easily. Baroro and Santo are able to get back up at the same time, and as Chapman is staring them both down, he is almost sliced up from behind by Hiramoto, narrowly dodging his sword slash. The three then attack him at once, and an enthralling fight ensues. Chapman is in significant danger and is pinned back, but he manages to unleash a storm of punches on Santo, breaking his ribs, and also sending Santo's knife through Baroro's foot. Chapman then squares up Hiramoto one-on-one. The Marine starts using two ceramic pipes as batons, and fights the sword-wielding Hiramoto. The Yakuza boss is able to give Chapman a cut. Chapman then turns the tables on Hiramoto, and brings him to his knees. However, the Yakuza boss then pulls out a gun, and shoots Chapman, telling the Marine that his sister put up more of a fight. This enrages John, who explodes on Hiramoto, and defeats him with some quick pipe whacks. Hiramoto gets up again, but Chapman shoots him several times. As he dies, Santo denies any involvement in Cindy's near-fatal attack, hands Chapman the key to a locker full of incriminating evidence, and asks for a gun in order to kill himself. Chapman agrees. The Marine also rescues the abducted, and carries them to safety as the police arrive. Cindy is also seen awake and recovering, but has severe head trauma that will take several years to heal. Later in a cafe, Ridley offers Chapman a job as an agent with the State Department, which he accepts, as then the state will take care of his sister. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.